Got a nice little blue screen. See if I can get this loaded back. Okay. All right. Fun. Okay. Get this back up and let's see what we lost. Okay. We are here. We're just going to run this through. That is one feature that I love about modern text editors, is that when things crap out, it just sort of remembers what you were doing and it doesn't get rid of it. All right. If exists, boom. mkdir output cd app. Copy all of this. Okay. Great. Uglify. Okay, great. We now have a min.js that has everything that we want. There are definitely some like stuff we want to apply to Uglify to, I want to say it's just slash mangle, to be honest with you. Slash, let's just go to the docs real fast. Uglify es mangle. 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 Something about top level. Compress or mangle variables in top level. Yep. Okay. So let's do mangle. No. Dash mangle dash m dash dash top level. You don't know what top level is. You don't. Oh, it's because it's one word. Oh, there we go. Okay, great. Top level. That is awesome. L.start create buffer source. Has own property. Okay, this is awesome. Probably want to get rid of all the console logs. I wonder if there's a way to do that. I don't know. Safari 10. Name cache, keep F names, keep class names. I don't care about any of that as long as it works. Comments, output, beautify. Mangle, compress. Enable compressor, specify compressor options. That's not super clear to me. Allow return outside of functions. Parse a single expression rather than a program. Okay. Um, is there console? Console.log. No idea. Drop console. Compress options. Drop. Okay. Uglify. Drop console. Command line? I can't really do it from the command line, can I? Negative. Oh, here you go. Drop console equals true. C drop console equals true. Let's try that. And what we're looking for is basically up here on these first few lines, this console.log should go away. That's the plan. Hey, all right. All right, so that's awesome. This is going to be our new Uglify line. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. I wonder if right here, if we use like O, and then instead of doing this, we do dot dot slash output. Let's try that. Instead of trying to pipe it, let's have the thing figure it out. Okay, so first off, does this work? And we'll be able to tell that because we'll just delete the minimum. There we go. Okay, great. Now, let's have this thing say dot dot slash output slash. Ooh. Yes. Delete. Okay. Then we can say delete app.js. Okay, let's copy all this. Okay. Then we can say delete app.js. Then we can say cd dot dot. Call cd dot dot. Then we can say copy all of these files. Speaking of which, index needs to change so that this is app.min.js. Then we want to copy all of these files out to here. Let's just see if this works. Hey, hey, hey. All right, we got index. Okay. All right, I feel like this is getting really close. Now what we want to do is we want to say build offline.zip with all of the contents of output. It's unclear to me whether or not that did what I was hoping for it to do. May 10th at 12:40. Well, it's hard to say that didn't do what I wanted it to do. Delete. Let's try that whole zip line again. All right. All right, it did. And then we can just say the old ls. That's not good. Build /star. There we go. Okay. And now we ought to be able to go to /output. cd/output and do a little ws here. And then just hit it up like this. Localhost 8000. Ooh. Ooh. All right. Yep. Okay. All right. So we got the game to work from a single folder and zip it all up. Okay. This is great. Okay, we are making progress. Now what we need to do is actually shrink this to make it a little bit easier. Maybe shrink that. There we go. Now what we want to do, let's kill this, is go to build. Oh, I haven't saved this. Try build. Oh, wait, cd ... Now build. I'm confused. Can I clear this? How do I clear this? I just want to clear it. Clear? Is clear a thing? No. CLR? That would be way too easy. Kill it. Okay. Build. What happened? In build, I feel like we should also clean out the build directory so that it's obvious. Okay, we created output, we changed to app, it copied the files, we called uglify, we deleted app, we went back. I was unexpected at this time. That was the other thing. We need this to be dot star. So this works when we type it in exactly, but it doesn't work in here. Why is that? So it's trying to for I oh, it's like this is a comment. What if I do call? Oh, that's weird. Batch file for loop. Windows batch file for loop. Okay. You gotta do that. There we go. Okay, build. There we go. All right, I feel like we should replace this zip file. So we're going to do the old if exists thing. If exists then delete that. See if that works. System cannot find the specified file. Let's just clear out the whole build folder. Let's just do build. Call mkdir build. Okay, this should completely wipe everything out. All right, that time it build, refresh. Yeah, all right, there we go. Okay, we got that back. And it's got everything in there. Okay, for the sake of argument, let's get rid of these and see where we're at without them. Okay, 7655 and we have 13K. So we need to somehow get all of the sound into like 5K. I sort of want to skip that. I sort of want to skip that. That's just sort of where I'm at. It's definitely a problem that we need to address for doing this for real. I don't, off the top of my head, have any idea about how to compress this audio other than just like going and looking up audio compress. online audio compress. Audio compressor. Free download to desktop. Drag and drop. Let's try that one. Give me a folder. Let's go to code. Let's go to this one. Let's go to this one. Let's go to this one. Then let's go to, I don't know, something like win. Heroic, you win sound. Yay! Heroic, okay. You win sound. All right, let me change this so we can all hear it. Okay. All right, that's how good the audio is. Let's see what it ends up being after I do this. No, I want the smallest possible size. I don't even want it to be MP3. Just give me the smallest possible size. Output settings. M4A. Like, I don't think we're going to beat this. That's my concern. It's not telling me what it's going to compress it down to. M4B? Whatever, let's keep it M4A. Do 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 do. Waiting for it to finish. Yeah, make a ding or something. Nope. Don't want that. That's a negative. This should not be taking this long. That's my professional opinion. This is 4 seconds of audio. It should be done in like a half a second. Audio. Online. Audio compressor. Let's try number 2. Open files. Goodness me. Code. Culture of development. JS13K. Offline. Win. Okay. Give me the crappiest conceivable quality. Ringtone? M4A? I mean, just the crappiest quality. Okay, this is at 198 kilobits, and we're going to compress it down to 64, so we might actually get some nice savings here. Can you go even lower? Oh, 16 kilobits. Oh, I'm liking this. Bit rate. Convert. I guess. Yeah, see, that should have taken like a half a second. I'm already giving up on this. I don't like that other site. Okay. No, don't do that. Give me the file size. What are you doing? Ooh. Okay, that's a pretty significant savings. We're gonna stick with that. I want to say new folder original audio, and then we're going to take all of these M4As, I think there's only 4 of them. Oh no, keys. We're going to put them in original audio. And then we're going to say wind. Okay, that was a big one. Actually sort of impressed on that. Let's do a little reload. M4A. Horrible. Let's go with original audio. Data. Convert it. Download it. Yeah, you can't even tell the difference on that one. This one is now only 5 kilobytes, down from, you know what it's doing? It's freaking me out, man. Just show me the size. Okay. Okay, these are huge, and all right, we're making significant progress here. If we can get this down to like, I don't know, 30 kilobytes, I'm just going to be happy with it. It's not within bounds of the thing, but overall, I think it's a massive improvement. And very, very, very close to where I was hoping to get to. What are the next ones? I already love this site. I'm going to like send out a tweet and be like, this site is awesome. 16 kilobits. And we need to do door locked. And I wonder if we change this stuff, if we can get even smaller. Download. Show it to me. Okay, that one's pretty quiet. Not gonna worry about making it louder. Okay, that was data. That's door locked. Now we know what door locked is. It's 5 kilobytes, and now what we're gonna do is we're going to do. Oh, that's not what I wanted. And then we're going to go to M4A again, and this time we're gonna drop it down to like, I don't know, 16 kilohertz. And then we're going to try it again. Oh. And see if it actually comes out smaller. Okay. This is 4.39. 4.58. Okay, so there's not a lot of savings to be gained there. But it is still plenty understandable. Okay, let's just get through all of them. Flashlight. Flashlight, door locked. Door, and then there's one more. Just keys. Advanced setting. Oh no, M4A. Advanced settings 16. Convert. Download. Keys. Okay. Try build one more time. Oh, I didn't put the... There we go. Okay, 30 kilobytes. 30 kilobytes. Maybe you can gain some more by putting them all together? And then treat it like a sprite and in JavaScript break it up into the multiple different parts. I don't really know if that would actually be an improvement or not. I don't know. In any case, I said 30 kilobytes was my magic number, and this looks to be right at 30. Maybe a hair over or a hair under. What is it? 30,627 divided by 1024. Okay, right under. It's right under. So we're within 30 kilobytes. Okay. I'm going to call it. What I want to do now is I want to get this so that we can publish it and people can play with it. Which should be something along the lines of like making let's just go see how other people do it. I ought to just be able to make like a different branch and do GitHub pages, I believe. And then in that branch we just move everything from this folder in. I don't know how to do that. And then it would be playable. Let's go to JS13K games. Let's go to Control 0, 2018, winners. Control 0, yet again. Play the game. Oh, I see. They're actually hosting them here on this site. Okay, and then they have their own place for these things. Okay, so yeah, maybe setting it up as an online playable thing. Sounds reasonable. And then I want to make a list of all the things that we accomplished and all the things that we learned in this process, and then come up with some areas to focus on when we start moving forward with the second try. And the idea being, you know, we don't need to do a lot of this stuff over again because we have already learned it. And instead, we should focus on the things that need the most work, like notably the audio. So we'll take a look at that. Okay, but I am glad that it all got working. Is it possible to make this play? Maybe. Let's get it checked in. To do today is 2019-05-10 and compress audio using this, and then fix the build, complete the build pipeline, and then let's say make it playable on GitHub pages. So we did this, we did this. Okay, that's great. Okay, this was good. Let's just go back to the beginning. First things first, we did some research to figure out all the things that were needed. we were able to sit down and come up with like a plan for making the game that involved evaluating a bunch of different kinds of games. Also determine the ones that I thought would be most interesting based on the rules. Once we chose like a really high level what it is that we wanted to do, we were then able to implement a grid world, a very simple like 8x8 by hand grid world, which we then later on turned into a like programmable grid world, which you just supply it an image and all of a sudden it'll just make the whole thing for you. That was I feel like that was actually a really big deal. That turned the idea of making a game world into something that doesn't require you to understand programming, and you can see it in a very visual way. I thought that like really improved the ability to make this thing. So those are big. Let's put another thing on here. Let's just go learn.md. Let's jam that over here. Okay, so what did we learn? Visual editors for content is awesome. Massive productivity boost. Mainly because I was then able to make a world that was 100 by 100 in literally like 30 minutes. That included, you know, all the different aspects of everything that I wanted, and then we could just sort of pop it up. We didn't have to worry about, you know, actually sitting down and saying like, okay, in this cell we do this, in this cell we do this, in this cell we do this. So I thought that was a let's go pound learned. And then let's say something like pound future work. All right, this is not related to this game per se, but things I now want to try as a result of having had this experience. What did we learn? Stuff we actually did. Okay. Alright, what was next? Next we considered, alright, player controller design. Nice. Alright, this was important. Where to put the controller, how to override the controller when things happen. Alright, this one was like, first we made it so that when you move around, and it was like, where do we make it so that when you move around? First off, we considered using the keyboard alone, we considered using the ASWD, we considered using the arrow keys, we considered using the mouse, and clicking through the world. There were a lot of different things. We ended up using ASWD, and then the idea being that where in the DOM to capture that was sort of important, and we ended up deciding that we were going to make it on the like lowest possible element itself, on the body, and we capture everything on the body instead of it like capturing on, you know, some random element in the page that you then have to somehow get the focus to. By just doing it on the body itself, we were able to capture everything no matter where it happened, and it also allowed us to work on the next part, which was how to override the controller when something happens, right? Instead of like just bailing and saying like, okay, prevent default or whatever, Instead, we made it so that there's sort of like a stack based thing. So anytime you go into a new mode, it adds a thing to the stack, and whatever's on the top of the stack has control. And then when you like close that dialogue or whatever, it pops that off the stack and it goes right back to the last thing you were doing. And I think that design was actually pretty fortuitous in the sense that it's just a really good way to like manage the scope of things. It's like you're always in the game, and there's always this like base level that is like capture the thing and make sure that something else, make sure that it doesn't do the scrolling, for instance, make sure that it doesn't do the whatever, and then making it so that when you enter a new mode, when you're in the leaderboard mode, which we didn't actually even get to implementing, but when you're in the leaderboard mode, that is the window that has control. So if you use WASD, then it wouldn't actually move your player around behind there. Instead, it would just capture whatever input it was right there on the thing. And a lot of these ended up being no ops as well, which I think is another, it's just a thing where it's like you just don't want anything to like be affected in two places. You really only want one thing to have control at a time. So I felt like that one was just a really sort of a good kind of fell out, and I was happy about it. Let's see, what was the next one? Make a build pipeline so we can see the final size, and then make items. So I actually didn't even realize that we've had items around for this long. I think it actually took a while for us to switch over the player to being an item, but I think items sort of led to some future work. Unity has an idea of game objects as the overarching, I don't know, structure. This is sort of the model that fell out of items in my design and was very helpful in making things just kind of work, to be honest. Explore more structures and find pros and cons of each. Yeah, I really want to get to the point where like game design is more like, oh, I'm building an MVC app or I'm building a whatever app, so that I understand those underlying design patterns. I got a little bit out of this. This was me designing off the top of my head to see what sort of naturally fell out. It ended up being something totally unique, but had little elements of here and there of things that I've used before. Unity being one of those. I'd really like to get to the point where that actually is something that just comes more naturally to me. There were a number of days on this project where I felt like I was fighting the design, and like rewriting large parts of it, and it sort of got unruly because there are, a few hundred lines of code in there at the end of the day. What did it end up being? That's a good question. So that was like 60, and that was like, yeah, so it's about 600 lines of code total, which is a pretty good amount for. It's not that many actually. I take it back. 600 lines. For not knowing what I was doing, I feel like 600 was actually pretty good. Hello everybody. If you just joined, sort of just doing a recap of like the last 12 days of work on this thing. And sort of going over and talking about what I've learned and what I want to keep going on to learn. Today, what we ended up doing was using an online audio compressor, just to skip ahead in case you've been following along. We used an online audio compressor to compress down the audio as much as possible, and then we fleshed out the build pipeline all the way. The last thing I want to get done today, in addition to writing up everything here, is to actually like put together a GitHub page where you can go and you can play this thing. It's not a fully fleshed out game. I did not end up following the rules of the thing, in that the final size ended up being 30 kilobytes. So, you know, we didn't quite reach our goal, but like I said, we learned a lot, and that's sort of what I'm going over right now. So if you want to hang out and mention anything that you noticed that I leave off, or if you want to just inject and, you know, tell me what else I should learn because you know more than I do, that would also be awesome. Are you using Canvas or not? No, I'm not, and I am definitely planning on getting to that. That is definitely one thing. So we ran into a lot of problems here. Use a better rendering engine than the DOM. Yeah. Once we like when the game was small and everything like that, it wasn't that bad. But if you notice when it got bigger, right here, like it got slow. I'm pressing it and it's like it's redrawing this huge world which is literally tens of thousands of DOM elements. Um, hey, quality coder, thanks for hanging out. It's lurking is totally fine around here. Um, and it's like, yeah, just moving this is really, really slow. And if I hold down the button, you can see it just starts like jumping instead of actually moving and showing you moving the whole way. I want it to be a lot more smooth. Um, I want it to be a lot more smooth. I don't want it to be so jumpy. I don't want to be dependent on a render engine that is like based on whenever the browser thinks it should redraw. I want it to be based on something that's like timed. I assume you're not going to do 3D. Not for this one. It's not off the table for the real competition, and in fact there is like a separate division for that, which I am open to taking a look at. In fact, you know, if we do a second try here, I might just go the 3D route just to do something wildly different and get, you know, get more experience on a lot more parts of it. But no, I'm not on this one. Let's see. All right, so learning. Use a better rendering engine than the DOM. Consider 3D graphics. Okay, back down to where we were. Make moving the player move. Oh yeah, that was a fun one. Yeah, when I was moving the player originally, it was moving the DOM element, but it wasn't actually like updating the values of the object for the player itself. So it always thought it was in a different cell, and I would run into things and it was like not interacting with it at all, and it would just like move right on top of it. And there was all these really silly things. And then one day I moved it off the side of the grid, and that's when I realized, like, what is it doing? Like, why is this happening? And it finally like dawned on me. That was one of the harder bugs. Let's see, what was next that day? Pick up items when entering a tile that contains them. Oh yeah, the interaction system. Interaction system. The interaction system was... This was one of those things that was just like totally off the top of my head. If the DOM is slow to render and you are working on a grid, would making everything off-screen invisible display none? So this is simply bounding box ortho culling. I don't actually know what any of that means. Display none. How would I actually draw it with display none? The one trick that I'm using around anything is you'll notice there's no scrolling in this. It's overlay hidden. It's the full size of the window, and then all it does is reset the offset to make sure that you're constantly in the center of the screen. So everything is still there, but only display what's needed. Bounding box ortho culling. Is that like a thing I can look up? Or is that just something that browsers do naturally? That's not super clear to me. Do not look it up. Okay. I guess one thing we could do is just, wait. I understand what you're saying. So anything that's not on the screen itself, set it to display none. Right. And then as it's about to come onto the screen, okay, and then it doesn't have to recalculate and all of that. That's a great question. I don't know if that would speed it up. I I don't know if that would speed it up. I think in large part we can get rid of most of the cells. Um, right now in the DOM, I maintain an element that renders each cell. If instead of doing that, I like placed them and I placed them using CSS, like either transform and put the things where I need them to be, but instead of rendering all the cells, only rendered the ones that actually had some value to them. Like for instance, this thing right here, the icons that I need to have show up. If I only rendered those, that would probably greatly improve the speed because all of this like grid work is just background images. Like that's not hard at all. All these walls, um, that's just there's a lot. Wait. Okay. All right, let's talk this out. If you can't tell, my monitor that has all the text is right here. It's weird that the text is over here because it would be a lot cooler if I was looking at the text. I do not do this stuff, but it would appear that if you wanted efficiency, the best way is to not put things in the DOM. Totally agree with that. Yeah, at one point I tried switching my video so that it would look like I'm looking at the text by just reversing my video. But the problem was all the words on my shirt ended up backwards, and I was like, I don't really like that, no. Make a DOM grid. This is what is rendered at any moment. Okay, I understand orthographic view. Yes. Oh. So you could literally just like, so make this DOM grid, but update what is there. Okay, so have the real stuff like off in the back, but like only put into the actual DOM, like into the rendered DOM, only the subsection which would actually be on the screen at any given point. That is a really good idea. I don't even think that would be a lot of work. That doesn't sound particularly difficult at all. Right. 3D if layered. Oh, that's another good one. Layers. Ad hoc layers caused a lot of pain. Do some more planning there. Update the on-screen visual representation each pass. This is just walking. Right. Yeah, no, that actually makes a lot of sense, and I might actually try that the next time. I kind of do want to move away from the DOM rendering. But it was super simple. It made moving things like trivial. I don't know. You know what? I think I'm imagining in my head that this was all trivial because it was the only way that I knew when I started. But if I actually learned the new way, there might be a just much better way to do it. So now the DOM is only the size of the screen grid. Yeah, and that would also allow me to like non-artificially limit the size. Like right now, I have it, the size of the whole screen, but realistically, we could just cut it off like this, and we could say like, okay, it's always 30 by 30, and then you never have to worry about you can basically predefine the amount of content that could possibly be in the DOM at any one time, and guarantee yourself performance. Okay, I really like that idea. I think I might try that with this game. Okay, try orthographic projection window and only render in the real DOM what might actually... Oh wait, no, this is a totally different one. And only render in the real DOM what might actually be on screen. Keep everything else off screen. Or else out of DOM. Okay. And if you move to a canvas or a WebGL, then still everything works off the JS 2D grid in the back. Yeah, that's another good point. That's another really good point. I'm gonna actually add that as its own thing. Store everything in a giant JS model. Don't use the DOM as the model. Makes it easier to switch rendering engines, etc. So the thought of this actually came up in my head as I was building this game, and I defaulted to using the DOM because it was just kind of there and easy, right? Like if I moved something, I didn't want to do any like entity tracking to say like, okay, let's have a render cycle and track everything that needs to update, which honestly might not have been that hard at the end of the day, because really all you do is add it to like a giant global list, and then every time the render cycle happens, it just sort of makes all the DOM updates. Yeah, instead I was like, okay, anytime you do something, just update the DOM immediately. But I definitely like having the like off-screen model. It much more naturally flows with the way that I think about problems in general, and a lot of the projects that I've worked on in the past. That's a good one. Thank you for that. Okay. The interaction system. All right, the interaction system was something where like this was completely made up on the spot, and it went through a number of iterations. The first time through, it was like, okay, if there's an item in here, just grab the items. And then the trouble with that was I wanted to change the player to be an item, because there was a real easy way to move items and whatnot, and there was a real easy way to like add them into a cell, and it was like all I had to do was call this one function, it would move a thing. And so I wanted to make the player an item, and in doing that, the player then tried to pick itself up, which obviously didn't work. So then I had to add in some new things that were like, is collectible, and the player was just set to be not collectible, whereas the other items were. But that also turned out to be kind of beneficial, because if you walked into an actual chair or something like that, it wouldn't try to pick that up. Or if you walked on top of a door, it wouldn't try to pick that up. I think there is a lot of work to be done here. It's also really not clear to me like what way interaction should happen. Is it the thing gets interacted with, or is it the thing that's doing the interacting operates on that thing, or is it the thing gets operated on by whoever? Like, where does the logic live? Does it live in the item, and the item knows what happens to it, or does it live in the the user, the player, and then that's where all of that logic happens. And I think what I ended up doing was shoving it all into the player, and the player was like, okay, if this thing is collectible, I can collect it, I can pick it up. If I walk into a door, I say, do I have keys? It's not the door saying, hey, can you unlock me with your key? Stuff like that. But I think thinking from a real world standpoint, if you had keys, you might try to put the key into the door, and then the key either works or it doesn't, and the door gives you that feedback. And you just made this decision. I'm going to take this key and I'm going to put this key into this door, right? That's the me saying, hey, try this. But then you have to sort of loop over all of your items and try to interact with each one, or I don't know. I just don't know the right way to organize this. I do think that interactions are a really big part of pretty much every game though, and it's well, at least every RPG game. And it's definitely something that I want to focus on more. Okay, so we're going to say lots of iteration. Not clear which side the interaction should happen from. What else did we learn in this? We learned that, well, interaction makes the game fun. I think it might be beneficial to render using a DOM grid, then do the same with Canvas, then WebGL 3D. Using the DOM renderer will be easy to do and focus on a nice design. Then the Canvas is still easy but requires 2D details. WebGL is simple but not brain dead easy due to being 3D, and you can waste focus time on effort. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. So we should move to this model, and we've already got a lot of work done here. Switching this over to the new model to sort of just understand how to make the changes, very, very, very good idea. And then just have the renderer be a DOM renderer. Oh, that's there you go. Yes, have the renderer be a DOM renderer. I really like that. Instead of hey, here is the DOM, and then we just manipulate the DOM at each step based on whatever it is that you do. Instead, we update the model, and then there is a thing that comes through and says, okay, I'm going to do the render step now, which actually, produces the next content that needs to be on the screen. And it just happens to be a DOM renderer, which creates all of these elements and yada yada and et cetera, et cetera. I wonder if you could even get away with this is crazy. I wonder if you could get away with each time you run the DOM renderer, right, just create a whole new DOM in the background, delete the old one, put the new one on the screen. I don't know if the browser would get super, super upset at you for doing that. No? Okay. Creating the DOM is slow. Well, I mean, yes and no. Right? That's the whole point as far as I don't know, it's a turn-based game. How fast does it need to be? It just needs to be fast enough that you can draw, you can move smoothly. One thing that you would get out of that for sure is that the whole thing where you hold down and then it skips 5 places, that would almost certainly go away. Yeah, simple update of properties. You're right, okay. No, that's real. That's real. One thing right now is that, okay, one reason it's definitely slow Actually, this might be the entire reason it's slow, is I'm relying on float. I literally float the grid cells, and is that right? Am I doing that? I think I'm doing that. Grid. Game. Grid. Position apps. Cell. Yeah, float. Okay, yeah. Okay. I wonder if instead I just put a transform directly on each cell, if it wouldn't try to recalculate all the values, and it might end up being a whole lot faster. That's interesting. You're right. If it's fast enough, who cares? All right. Back to what we learned. All right, interaction system. I think the interaction system is like definitely my one really big thing I want to focus on. Try alternative interaction styles. Specifically, figure out which direction the interaction should happen. Gotta go back to work. See ya. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Kitten Lover. I really appreciate it. I also appreciate all the chatting. You definitely helped me clear up a few things, and I really appreciate that. So thanks for stopping by. This was a lot of fun today. Okay. Implement player, make the player movable. This was the day 2. Moving pieces, winning condition. This was all interactions. Oh yeah, the inventory. Inventory system. Harder than it seems. This is another place where having a renderer would really, really help, because you can have the renderer for the interaction, for the tell me what I'm thinking, for the inventory, look at that specific model item instead of it like rendering inside of it as part of the DOM and then trying to use some magic static thing to place it where it was. This was some trouble that we ran into where like, oh, you can't actually even see the inventory system because it's not on the page. That's awesome. That's so awesome. That's super, super, super awesome. And then, yeah, you see we got like up here the move thing. All of these things are like, you know, sort of backwards because let's shift this down. You know, that thing ended up on the bottom and not on the top. And because of the way that we put the renderer in there, it's very difficult to move it to the top. So we have this grid, and we have this move counter, and the move counter, oh wait, no, this one we just didn't specify a Z index. Maybe we can fix this one. Z index, I don't know, 100, there we go. Text shadow. White. 3px, 3px. I forget how to do this. And then there's like 3px, 3px. Oh crap. I can't remember, but the point being that there is a way to make it so that it basically outlines it and you can see it all the time. But the other one is the... Yeah, we had a whole lot of problem with this one, where the inventory of the player is actually rendered now at the very bottom of this giant thing, because that's just how it works. You can't place something static when it's nested this deep in a bunch of z-indexed stuff. So instead of actually showing up on the bottom of the screen, it shows up on the bottom of the element that it is the parent of its parent. and I just don't remember how how to do that. Yeah, like even fixed just isn't working. Or maybe this is... Oh yeah, this was a z-index problem as well. Where is it? No, it's way down there. Yeah. So that's one thing for sure that was not fun. Harder than it seems. Really bad rendering issues with our method. Did not get to stacking of items. For example, data or keys. That's other stuff I want to get to and want to try. Okay. Oh, the audio. Okay. Audio is super expensive from a size standpoint. It is super, super expensive. That's really all I've got. It was super expensive. It was really fun. Really fun to make the sounds, though. They add an incredible amount of... what's the right word here? They make the game sort of like less bland. They add an incredible amount of depth to the game. That's really what I say. Learn better techniques for shrinking audio. Yep. Let's see. Add graphics for the player in the door. When you start the game, show the leaderboard. Okay. That was another thing. Built a main screen, but did not do anything with it. And more importantly, figure out how to reset the game. Because right now, once you ended the game, you really just had to reload the whole page in order to play it again, even though the like play window showed back up and you could press play. It still got to the point where it was like, nope, can't do anything here. Because as soon as you clicked through, it was still like this finished game on the other side. There was no way to like rebuild a new level or anything like that. A lot of that had to do with it being part of the DOM. Maybe we could fix that one pretty easily by not actually generating the DOM behind until you click the play button. That's a possibility. Maybe that one's not particularly difficult. The move counter was fun, but we never actually got to the point of using that either. The game was called You're Running Out of Money, but we didn't actually make it, based on money. So there was just like a lot of like little stuff that we didn't actually get to. I don't know how hard it would have been to add any of these things. And I'm also not sure how much of, the value of the game it would have added to have those things. It feels like, for the most part, leaderboards I really like because it gives you that like Pac-Man feel where you show up, there's already some names there, there's already some scores there, and you just want to do a little bit better, and you want to do a little bit better. There wasn't a whole lot of skill to this game, so it was sort of luck whether or not you actually beat it, because losing money is, the thing was hidden in a random place. So, alright. The story was half-baked. Let's put it that way. I know that this is all related to the game counter, but the story being half-baked was sort of part of the problem. It wasn't super compelling to try to get through it because we didn't even actually implement the different keys or needing more than one piece of data. There was just so many pieces to this that we just sort of left off because we didn't quite get to them. Okay. The dialog view turned out to be a lot of fun. Dialog view turned out to be a lot of fun. The dialog view was something that shows up on the top right when you start the game, and it was great because it was the first thing that overtook the controls. It also added some information to it, to the game to sort of tell you how to play. It provided an enormous amount of value. Provided a lot of value. How to play. Built out. Forced us to update the controller for the input. Those were both really big deals. I also feel like another thing that added a lot to play was adding the grid lines. Didn't quite get it to the point where I wanted it, because when I ended up doing the walls and building the thing on, when we ended up building the walls on the image, we sort of just turned the walls. Hello. I do not know Java, but if you have a question, go ahead and ask, and I'll be happy to try my hardest. I've done Java in the past, and I'm familiar with C#, which is related, unless it's like specific to a part of the framework. If it's general problem solving, I should be able to help. When I was installing JDK 12, and I can't use the math class. In what way? Since when java.lang is not imported automatically. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I also don't know where in the framework the math library is. In C#? That's a great question. I don't actually know if you need to. Okay, yeah, math is just part of it. It's part of system. Java.lang.math. You're right, I didn't have to import it. It's in system, and system is imported by default. Well, it's technically not. It just happens to be imported in this application that I'm using. Let's try it in a real environment. Let me go with... Sure thing. Let's go create a new project. Console app.NET Core. Yep. Sure. No, let's put this in some crap folder. Whatever. Code. Experimental. Great. Console app 2. I want to say that, yeah, this right here, you just sort of get system by default. Well, not entirely sure there. Alright, so system is actually imported here, but if I get rid of system, then can I do... Nope. I have to import it. Using system, and now I have access to math. I don't know if you can see this or not. There we go. Yeah, if I don't include it, like now I can say like dot square root of, I don't know, something like that. But if I don't use system, it's like, no, I don't know what this is. So I guess that's my answer for C#. I don't know for Java, and I don't have a Java compiler on this machine that I know of. Actually, I probably do. Let's just go run Java C. Java C? No, I don't have Java C. Java? Oh well, I do have the runtime. I don't have the SDK. When I learned Java, I was using JDK8. I think it used to be able to do math.py and it would work. I mean, I believe you, but things do change in libraries anytime a major version changes. So from like JDK8 to JDK10, they may have changed the way that that sort of behavior works. In C Sharp, for instance, just including system and then building actually results in quite a bit of bloat. I want to say build, rebuild. They might have gotten better with it. See if I can go find this. We put this in code, experimental, console app 2, build. So yeah, this DLL is like 5 kilobytes, and if we don't use system and just do something else, like for instance, I don't know, int a equals that, and we say a plus, let's even put a function in there, right? Static int add int a, int b, return a plus b, and then we just say equals add 1 and 2, and we say build, rebuild. I believe this is going to end up being significantly smaller. Not 100% on that. Apparently not. 151. Did I build it again? Rebuild. 152. No, it didn't. 4.5. Okay, so it didn't make it smaller. What if I include system? There are some times, though, when like just including generic things like this can actually cause quite a bit of bloat. And in those cases, it is usually best to not include things by default. Like, for instance, you'll notice that when I created this console app, it only included system. If I were to just say something like new, give me a new file here, and maybe this has changed since the last time I've done it, but if I say, like, give me a new class, and we'll just call it class 1, see all this crap that gets included by default? Like, that stuff is kind of worthless. So unless your compiler actually ignores all of the things that aren't used and doesn't by default include everything in your application, in your compiled application that is included, whether it's used or not, then it can actually cause quite a bit of bloat. Yeah, I mean, a few other things probably changed, but for the most part, you're going to use it for like a week, and you won't even remember what all was different. Okay. Back to this. Dialog view turned out to be a lot of fun. It did turn out to be a lot of fun. Okay. Add graphics, lots of stuff, dialogue. When the game completes, show the leaderboard. Absolutely. Thanks for hanging out, Rambog, also. I don't know if you're just stopping by lurking. That's totally cool. But yeah, any questions you have, feel free to drop them in chat. I'll help you out as much as I can. All right. Talk about graduation, read the cards. This was like, yeah, this day, if we were going to redo this day didn't count because I was only on for like an hour and a half. And I spent 20 minutes talking about graduation, and I spent 20 minutes reading the heroines of JavaScript cards. And then I spent like 20 minutes messing with the CSS before I bailed. So that day is probably a redo. Let's see what else here. All right, make a different sound when you try to interact with a locked door. Yeah, this kind of goes back to the other stuff. The sound really like gives you a lot of input, a lot of depth to the game. If you just bounce into a door and nothing happens, like that sucks. But if it gives you some feedback, and it's like, I'm like sweating like crazy. if you bounce into a door and it's like, oh, I can't, it sounds like the door is locked. Well, then now you have a lot more information about it, and it was really good. So I liked that. Conversation pauses player control, visually change the CSS to show the allowed pass. Again, all of this stuff was really big on the playability part of it. It showed you exactly where you could walk, and it would not show you paths that went into walls and all of that. So that turned out to be good. There's still some bugs with that around the CSS not being totally perfect, but more good than bad there. The move counter. Oh yeah, that's right. The move counter used to only increment whenever you actually moved, instead of moving anytime you attempt to perform an action, which sort of is like a time delay in the game and should count for a negative. I don't think that there was anything to learn from that other than like, basically we spent 2 days on making the game more playable, and it turned out actually that is something to learn. Spend time playing your game and you will learn what's working and what's not. That was actually pretty important. Was not clear where you could move. Sounds for specific blocking interactions. Not walking through walls. Yeah, that was another big one. Yeah, lots of it. Just lots more. Should probably come back and fill that out. Okay. Prevent you from reaching a cell with a locked door. That was just another thing, right? We spent 2 days on this. The filing cabinet, the server that's down. When you use the data, it disappears from your inventory. All of these things were just like actual mechanics that needed to be handled. Why does the data disappear? That was a funny one. It was like, it's a disk, right? You're putting it into the thing. You should just have the disk back when you're done using it. So why is it like that? Yeah, that one was kind of funny. I remember that day. Okay. Start the initial conversation when you interact with the desk. That was good. Get the lighting to work. Okay, that was my struggle point. The lighting was really hard. Alright, forced us to redesign the walls. Forced us to consider lots of, or forced us to consider interactions from lots of sources, which we did not actually finish. And then never really found a good lighting level for anything. When you show up to the game, it's actually quite bright, and you can just sort of see right through it at the moment is where we left it. Like, you can see this stuff. It's even brighter on the video that's like showing on the stream here. It's a little darker for me, but for the most part, you can absolutely see everything that's behind here. We did not implement the windows. The flashlight shows like unidirectionally around you because there's no direction that you're facing. It might have been cooler to like have it sort of focus in the direction of your mouse and maybe go a little bit further, like 3 or 4 cells out. I mean, there were so many things that we could have improved about the flashlight, and it was a really big part of the game, that I feel like, we sort of missed on that one. That one needs just a lot more interaction, really. It was just hard. But yeah, that's another situation where like a rendering thing would actually really improve this if you just redraw every time, because you could just, well, that's another thing. If you just had a layer on top of this that was the lights. Oh, wow. Wow, I just thought of a really good way to do this. If you just had a second layer that was on top of the whole thing here that was actually the lights layer, then you could have a transparent background that represented, the place where you could actually see the light. You could always anchor one part of the light to be on the player, and then it could just sort of rotate as you rotated your mouse, and you would be able to see what was underneath it. And then on that layer, we could always predefine. No, okay. Okay, well, there's lots of ideas around the light. The light was definitely the worst implementation of all the features, although super important. Still super important because it was one of the primary challenges. Okay. Not leaving a trail. Yeah, that was fun. Okay, oh, yeah, that's right. How to load image data. How to get raw image data in a browser from an image file. Dealing with different compression formats, etc. And that one was actually a lot of fun too. The way that you do it is you set it to an image, which will just handle the decoding for you. Then you slap it on a canvas, and then you tell the canvas to give you the data back, and it gives you back just raw bytes of the actual data that was like of the colors of the pixels that were in the image. And there was so much more we could have done with this. So images themselves have, 32 bits in every cell. 32 bits is a lot of bits for defining things. You could just specify individual bits to do things like, okay, there's these walls based on, the first bit, the second bit, the third bit, the fourth bit are either the top, the bottom, the right, the left. Or you could have, had a bit representing the items that were in that cell. It's like a flashlight or the player or the whatever, right? And then you could also specify, what color the background is. So like if you wanted to like make a design on the carpet, for instance, like there was just so many things there that we could have done and we did not do. And I'm going to put that on future work, which is make better use of the graphical editor. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Get the image in JavaScript. What else do we want to do here? Yeah, so when we have the image, we didn't have to save the image as raw bytes. We could have run it through a converter that then populated the image with exactly the bits that we want to be read through. It might have been better. Because we ended up in this really weird situation where the walls ended up being squares instead of like just being individual walls. And that also caused this issue of like, if I can actually move, where when it now looks like you can walk into a wall because there's no wall on the cell that the player is currently in to affect the CSS. So it was one of those things where it's just like, we got to fix all of this. And we spent so much of our time getting this grid system in that it's like we really should have respected it when we got to the point of doing the graphical editor. So that's just another thing. All right, get the inventory to show on the bottom. Yeah, there was just a lot of things we didn't do. So, yeah, overall, I think like that's not a bad list of things learned and things that we want to do. let's get this all checked in, and I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for the day. This was a really fun project, and I really appreciate everybody who's like been along with me for the ride. We're gonna switch over next week. Oh yeah, another news. Gonna start doing a pop-up stream on Mondays for about an hour, around lunchtime, noon EST, and it's gonna be entirely focused on mentorship. There will be times when I talk about how to mentor. There will be times I will answer questions for mentorship. So if you have any messages, or excuse me, any messages, if you have any questions that you want answered, just like Randbog had here a while ago, just feel free to send me a tweet and ask me the question, and I'll try to get to it on Mentorship Monday. And we're just going to make a thing out of this. It's something that I've really, really, really enjoyed doing. And I've got a ton of questions already piled up. If nobody has any questions on the spot, where from my previous mentorships, people have asked some just really, really good questions that have caused me to go like really in depth on things. And I'm just going to start sharing that stuff. I think there's a lot of value in it. And please, by all means, come and ask me whatever it is that you want to know. So that's going to be on Mondays. And then for next week, for the regular stream days, instead of working on this project, I think we're going to set this aside. We're going to take a little break from it, let all of this stuff sink in. And in the meantime, I want to go ahead and start a new project where I want to start like upping the production value of the stream here. So I'm gonna spend a couple of days, making things look a little better, getting a few scenes set up, maybe getting an intro set up, getting some transitions, getting whatever else going on. And that's what this week is going to be. It's really going to be just sort of like how to get set up with streaming and all of that. If you have any questions about that stuff, come ask me then. And then other than that, we're going to figure out some more AI stuff to start the week after. So if you're not interested in what we're doing next week, show up 2 weeks from now and we're going to get back to the fun stuff. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining. And what is the AI? Oh, well, so previously I had been working on you are going to look at. Right now, I don't have anything planned out like very specifically. I think I want to go into a couple of like I have a couple of data sets and a couple of problems that I want to try and work at. I have not decided which ones it is that I'm going to do, but I'm definitely going to get back to the point of like doing more AI on stream. We had previously done the mapping stuff. I've got a lot of ML stuff from graduation that just got wrapped up. And I also have one really big project to work on that I think AI might be able to help us with, which is at my current job, we're having some issues with maximum bandwidth host to host in our data center. And I want to see if we can use some techniques to sort of diagnose what the problem is there and see if we can get that sorted out. So that might be a lot of fun. And it's also a real world problem to apply it to. But yeah, that's it. That's what we're gonna get to. And if anybody has any questions right now before we go, I think that's gonna be it. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Kitten Lover. And I will see y'all on Monday. Bye. Oh wait, hold on. We're gonna raid. That's right. I have to get good at this. I have to get better at this. Let's go find someone to raid. Let me pull up. Let's go to, where are we? Twitch. All right. Browse. I want to search for science. What do you mean there's no science? Yeah, science and technology. There we go. All right, let's see who is around. Educational videos, Siege Games, Instafluff we rated yesterday. Let's see if there's someone else we can find today. Dash Ducks, Game Dev, Blue Flash, Pocket Watch, Rayo Lights, Spark Wolf. If anybody has any suggestions, I am totally up for it. Otherwise, I think we're just gonna, you know what, is live coders.dev. Okay, let's go with Clark.io. Here we go. This will just take a second. Clark.io. Alright. Gonna be ready to raid here in just a second. Again, yeah, thank you everybody for joining. I really appreciate y'all hanging out. It really fills me up with joy. Alright. And here we go.